Hi everyone, this is Carl, and this is AMBA 600 MBA Fundamentals, subsection Stat 689 Excel and Statistics Tutoring Forum. And what this YouTube video in particular is just going to provide you with an overview of the services we're providing. As mentioned in the actual course section for AMBA 600, we are kind of a ancillary function to help you understand the statistical concepts and applications in your homework, and also just in the coursework itself, just to give you a broader understanding of the concepts of the application of the packages that are involved in this course to kind of help you not only just learn it for the course, but use it in the future. So we're a series of tutors available throughout the week. We'll be setting up a schedule where you can kind of get instant access, if you will, via chat. So just give you a sense of initial videos that we'll be posting to give you a broader sense of what's going on. And then furthermore, throughout this semester, we'll be providing additional videos at request, ad hoc basis, in addition to concept problems. So just a brief introduction, we're here to understand, as I mentioned, the concepts and the application in statistical packages. And what does that mean? Well, just Excel, and what does Excel, how does it involve with the coursework? How do you use it? What are the differences and slight nuances between statistical packages for this course particularly? And first I wanted to make sure that everybody kind of understood. Obviously you found this course because you're watching this video, but just in case, in terms of navigating, if you go down there, because in essence you'll be going in between these two course sections in your class. So you should see this at the end, Stat 689, and you can go back and forth between this and your AMBA course. Just to give you a heads up, I mean, in a sense, it's the fastest way to get a hold to kind of alternate between the two. You can even use it as two windows. But just to give a feel, I could mention that just so that you know just how to go back and forth when you're working on your homework. So in terms of the videos, there's going to be 5 initial videos that we're going to be just discussing. The first is just an introduction to statistical packages, as I mentioned, be it PHStat, Excel, or StatCrunch. PHStat is kind of a subset that you actually work in Excel, and StatCrunch and PHStat are both from Pearson. As you know, Excel is Microsoft. For the most part in this course, you will be working in Excel, but just to kind of give you an overview, depending on what you're comfortable with, if you've had past statistical experience with these packages, that it's not required, but you will need to know Excel, and it'll be easier to work in Excel because a lot of the course problems operate through it. So, but just to give you an option, it's not the only one available, but it is the most recommended one. And so we're just going to give you slight nuances to all of these, just to give you the whole picture of what you have at your fingertips when working on your homework. So the second video will be preparing and summarizing data. What does that mean? Well, in stats, in Excel too, it's if statements, VLOOKUP, relative and absolute cells, COUNTIF. The COUNTIF function is counting, for instance, if you have survey data, yeses and nos. If you want to know the number of children under 18, and there's a flag for that saying you have, as an example, 25,000 records, and you know that you have 5,000 18-year-olds, it's counting those numbers just in essence. And pivot tables, it's another way to use data and summarize it when you have a series of variables. When I say variables, it's just what you think. It's county, it's age, sex, address, health insurance or not health insurance, small business, large business, those kinds of things. Those are variables. And so pivot tables help you summarize that. So when we say preparing and summarizing data, it's taking a small data set and then using it and understanding kind of all that's involved and what's there. It's because the first piece, and one of the more harder pieces in stats, is understanding the data. When you think about it, it's not as easy to summarize as you might think, because if you're making, and this is getting a little ahead, but if you're making inferences about the data, you will have to understand kind of the crosstabs. When I say crosstabs, as an example, the number of employees who are aged 35 who work at home. Those are actually 3 variables, and so you'd have to do a series of, okay, the number of age 35 by employee working at home, So you get the gist of it in terms of understanding how to summarize it. Because another key element, and we won't get it too much in this introductory video, another key element is creating your own variables to summarize. And that's a whole thing that we'll get into this video particularly. So if you want to know just what I just mentioned, those series of things, the number of employees, age 35, working at home, you could create an if statement with that, taking those three variables, setting a condition, and actually creating a variable to count that, so that you're not having to go through every single record and saying, okay, do they meet the three criteria or not? So that's really going to be a good important one. Just give your sense of understanding basic data sets. So, and just be on the lookout for that one. The next one, as you can see, we're kind of stair-stepping it, is based statistical analysis. So there's one thing to summarize data and to understand exactly what you have in front of you. It's quite another to actually, okay, now make inferences. Now study it and analyze it and create frequencies. See, with the if statement, as I mentioned, now, okay, the frequency piece is the analysis part of it. So, okay, now that you know that you've created these other variables to summarize, now run frequencies to actually help you summarize, to help you analyze the data, to help you understand and make a generalization about the data or not a generalization. So in descriptive stats, that's another thing. Just when you have a data set and you're one of the first things that you'll do is running descriptive stats, and that's basically a mean, a median, the mode, and we'll get into those kinds of concepts. Just basic, when you take a data set, big or small, and you want to know who's in it and what's the average across the board per variables and stuff like that. So that's a good one. That's going to be a core one that I would recommend that you watch and then actually refer back to. But these are just part of the core videos that we'll be doing, and then we'll have some offshoot ones as well. And the other piece, now that you've been able to make statistical analyses, is actually to present it. Because as you know, there are several ways to present the same kind of data. And so it's very imperative that you kind of understand how much is too much and how little is too little when you want to get your point across. Because it's really easy to make these very complex charts when you only want to present a simple point, or a simple trend, or a simple percentage. Sometimes less is more, other times that doesn't allow for that depending on what you're analyzing. Some histograms can be pretty complex because you were actually asked to analyze a couple of things, not just one. So just to give you a sense of that decision-making process when you think about data presentations. And lastly is quantitative reasoning. So, and it relates a little bit to the data presentation, but it's also just interpreting statistics. So you have this quantitative analysis that you've done. Now, kind of in a qualitative way, explain what that means. Explain how that impacts the research question. Explain essentially that you know how to apply the concepts, the statistical concepts rather, and use them and actually make inferences and actually present a result and findings. That's a key point, is just knowing and talking about the findings. So you're kind of showing you this progression of, okay, first receiving data, analyzing data, presenting the data, and actually kind of drawing conclusions from that data. That's kind of the central core of what we're trying to get with these initial videos, just so that you know, with the statistical packages available, just what's out there and how to use them for your coursework. So, and then also, as I can't emphasize enough, is that should you have any questions, please don't hesitate along the way. As I mentioned, we're here. We'll be posting a schedule when you can reach us instantly in the sense of chat and those things, but also every single day via email we are available, and we are here to help. So please don't hesitate to ask any questions along the way. There is no bad question. Because, as you know, a lot of this stuff builds up from previous material, and it can get complex pretty fast. So, what you would think is a simple core question, and you don't feel afraid to ask, because in previous experiences, if one person asks, and then usually like 5 or 10 are asking, also they just don't want to ask. So please don't hesitate along the way to ask questions. But we look forward to assisting you this semester and wish you all the best. And just, again, we're here to help. Thanks.